And a lot of it's always about ego, right? Our ego tends to get the best of us. And I think today is a really good day to talk about the ego, because when we're talking about training and lifting heavy, like the best thing that you can do in your training is drop the ego. Because once you drop the ego, that's when the real training begins. That's when you can actually progress. That's when you can actually grow. That's when actually you're training smart and you're gonna see the biggest progressions, right? The times that I was trying to force feed like that extra, 25 pounds on my lift or that 50 pounds on my lift, like I always ended up getting hurt, or I always ended up like just being stuck and frustrated. And it was those times that I like took a step back and was like, let me try some different things. Let me explore training a little bit more. And I would find some things and I would get stronger and I'd come back and I'd usually be able to overcome those goals, right? So story kind of talks about salt, right? Everyone knows about salt, right? You eat it on your food. There's a Dead Sea full of it. If you go to a float place, they put you in a tank with water with a bunch of salt in there. So in most cases, you can notice salt when it's at a lot, when it's plentiful, right? When there's a bunch of it. Now, what about when you're eating food, right? Most of us, when we're eating food, we're like, man, this was delicious, right? This was so tasty, right? You ever go to a restaurant and it was like the flavors were just perfect, and it wasn't like too spicy, it wasn't too sweet, right? It came at the right time, right? It had the right flavor profile, meaning it didn't have like too much salt. It wasn't like missing salt. You ever have like some food that's missing some salt? You're like, I get something, especially you get like some French fries. See, I'm thinking about French fries, so I just had Greek last night and it was so good, those French fries. But if they don't have the right salt on them, I'm furious, right? They're not the same. So salt, when it's not enough, it's noticeable. Salt, when it's too much, it's noticeable. We just said you can float in it. You can taste when it's excessive in your food. You could feel it, like the water retention and all that stuff the next day when you eat too much salt. But you never notice it when it's the perfect amount, right? So salt takes the blame when it's too much or too little, and it takes none of the blame when it's perfect. Or it takes none of the credit, I should say. So that's just like us. It's just like our ego, right? When our ego is too much, it's noticeable, right? If you're walking around, like, you guys know that person's egotistical, right? But at the same time, if the person's in the weight room, right, internally battling their ego, and you can see they're getting frustrated because they can't go up, like, that's also the ego, and you can see that, right? What about the person that's like, oh, I'll never be able to do it. This is so scary, right? Right? That's also the ego, right? It's just in a different side of it. So the perfect spot is right in the middle. The perfect spot is right in the middle. It's recognizing that there is fear. It's recognizing that there's things that are hard. It's recognizing that you might try it and you may fail. It's recognizing that if you try it a bunch of times, you can get good, right? So it's understanding that there's no white or black, there's no right or wrong, there's no yes or no, there's only how much. And training comes down to how much you put into it, how much seriousness you think about it. Like, do you think about your recovery? Because if you're not thinking about your recovery, then you shouldn't be thinking about your PRs, because you can't have one without the other, right? If you have poor recovery, well, you're not getting the right response to your training. And then, like, let's talk about time. Let's talk about time. All of us, we've said many times, we don't have enough of it. So when we go to the weight room without a purpose and we're just going through the motions, that's an hour out of our lives that we don't get back. So when we go to the weight room, guys, it's important that we're actually investing that time to make sure that we're having growth happen there, that we're chipping away, working on our ego, and becoming that stronger person, because it's working on your ego in the weight room that allows you to be able to fulfill a very happy and fulfilling life on the outside, because it's our ego outside that usually gets us into trouble. So it's the skill sets and the process of learning. It's not about the number that we lift. It's about going through that journey of saying, man, I'm really good at deadlifting, but I'm not that good at my bench press, and I'm noticing that I have a lot of pain there. So what's going on? Well, let me address the pain. Let me put the ego down and say, let me take a little bit of time before I go up on this lift. Let me make sure that I'm strong enough to do it the right way so that I don't get hurt. Because if I get hurt, I'm going to be sidetracked. Right? I want to do it the right way. I want to put up numbers that I can respect. I don't want to put up a bench press that bounces off my chest. I want to have a nice pause at the bottom, and I want to drive it off of my chest. I want to be honest with myself, right? Because a lot of people will do a lot of things to get up there, and that's based on the ego, right? You will respect yourself up there when you do it the right way and you put that work in. So sometimes it's not going to be tomorrow. Sometimes it's not going to be next month. Like, real training is like, hey, can you fulfill that thing a year out? Like, can you push that gratification out and then break it down each quarter to what you should be doing? Because that's what training is, guys. And we call those, right, mesocycles, macro cycles, right?